The Predators are here, and the entire Marvel Universe is their prey. The Milano drifts gently through the vastness of space, with Rocket at the controls, ignoring the snores emitted by his co-pilot. But suddenly, a warning alarm begins to go off. "Somebody's in trouble! You hear this, Quill?" Rocket asks. Peter Quill shifts slightly in his seat and lets out another loud snore. "Earth to Quill!" Rocket snaps as he slaps him in the head. Peter snaps awake and looks around in a daze. "We're getting pinged by an emergency beacon from Saturn, registered to a Stark Industries mining ship," Rocket explains. Star-Lord grabs hold of the controls and radios out to the ship, asking if they need assistance.
"Help! Harbor malfunction. Adrift,"
a voice answers, broken up by bursts of static. Quickly, the heroes steer the Milano towards the malfunctioning craft and prepare to board. They find the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy waiting for them in the cargo hold. "What's up?" Gamora asks. "Need me to kill anything?" Drax inquires. "I am Groot," Groot chimes in. But Quill waves them off as he and Rocket head for the boarding ramp, explaining that it's a simple rescue mission, barely above a flat tire. The doors slide open and they head into the malfunctioning vessel, but are surprised to find no one waiting for them. Where's our hero's welcome? Maybe I should have introduced myself as Star-Lord, Quill questions quietly as they begin to move through the ship. But the heroes suddenly stop short, as a 3-point targeting laser suddenly appears on both their chests. Rocket's eyes widen as he realizes what's about to happen. "Quill!" Rocket shouts, trying to warn his friend, but the plasma blast rips through his chest, cutting him in half and dropping him to the deck of the ship in a pool of blood. Rocket moves fast and draws Quill's quad blasters. He turns and lets out a war cry as he fires at their unseen attacker. Meanwhile, the rest of the Guardians hear the blaster fire. "Does this mean I get to kill something, Gamora? Because I would really like to kill," Drax begins to say as he draws his swords. But something shifts in the shadow and a blade disc suddenly sings through the air. Drax's head is severed from his body, Groot is cut in half, and Gamora's sword arm is sliced off at the shoulder in one attack. The Guardians lay dead or dying on the floor as the 3 hunters step from the shadows. "You see, I told you. They blindly answered the call for help. It's what makes them easy prey," the leader tells his Yautja companions as he motions to the fallen heroes. He reaches up and removes his helmet. "Let the great hunt begin, and let Kraven be the spearhead," Kraven says with a smile. Meanwhile, back on Earth, General Charlotte Pett has arrived at the Weapon Plus facility in Virginia. She steps off the helicopter and thanks Dr. Cornelius for accommodating her visit. Cornelius glares at her from behind his glasses. "Oh, was it a request? I was under the impression that it was a command," he snaps as he ignores her outstretched hand and turns back to the facility. General Pett follows him inside as the doctor explains that he is very busy and doesn't have time for these sorts of inspections. "You're in the business of weapons, Doctor. You haven't delivered any prototypes in over a year," General Pett points out. Dr. Cornelius sighs as he unlocks the lab security doors and motions her inside. "I better be impressed. You're on the chopping block," the general points out as she steps inside. But the door suddenly slams behind her. She turns back to stare through the glass. "I'm sorry, did you say it was I who was on the chopping block?" Dr. Cornelius asks with a smile. Red light fills the room as something heavy steps out of the shadows. "General Pett, meet Predator X," Cornelius says over the radio as the large Yautja steps out. his mind being controlled by the Weapon X helmet. And the alien warrior lets out a roar as it stalks forward. Meanwhile, a Yautja capital ship lands on the dark side of the moon. While the warriors on board prepare for their great hunt, Kraven stands before the Predator King. He has been working with them for the past year, having earned a place as a hunter after killing one of the deadliest among them, the Yautja known as Skinner. Kraven taps a button on his wrist computer, showing the Predator King images of the greatest threats on Earth and beginning their kill list. I only have one request. This trophy belongs to me, Kraven says as he motions to the image of Spider-Man. But he explains that their first hunt must take place on the moon, where the Fantastic Four have set up a home in the moon's blue area, Luther Crater. The Fantastic Four sit in their domicile and drink coffee as they stare down at the Earth. Sue is trying to explain to Reed that they need to take a minute and stop worrying about all of Earth's problems and simply enjoy their lives. But Reed's mind can't slow down in its problem solving for a moment, even noticing that Ben hasn't been drinking his coffee as fast, and that it's because Ben doesn't have enough sugar in his coffee. It's fine, Stretch. I'm too lazy to get up, Ben Grimm grunts. But Reed shakes his head and stretches his arm out to get the sugar from the kitchen. But suddenly, he lets out a grunt of pain, his arms snapping back, and the family looks on in horror as Reed's arm reappears around the corner, now severed at the elbow and spewing blood around the room. Reed collapses to the floor as the family turns to face their attackers. Sue drops to her husband's side, throwing up a force field to protect them. Johnny flames on and leaps into the air, flying forward to meet their attackers in battle. But something drops from the ceiling and wraps around his neck. The vibranium cable tightens and rips through Johnny's flesh, cutting his head off. "Johnny!" Ben shouts as he stomps forward to help his friend. But the flames from Johnny's body begins to spread, no longer contained by his powers. Ben watches in shock as hunters begin to step through the flames, their invisibility dropping as they enter combat. Do not under any circumstances allow yourself into close combat with the Thing. He's the very definition of brute force. You will lose, Kraven warns. The lead hunter steps forward and raises his vibranium mace, lashing out with its plasma energy and hitting Ben hard enough to throw him through the wall and out into the moon's atmosphere. Ben can't stop his momentum and he floats away into space. Meanwhile, Sue has fled with her husband, trying to reach some place of safety, but Reed is bleeding out. A trail of blood from his arm followed them through the base. "Sue, I've lost 2 liters of blood, so I'm gonna pass out in 10 seconds, Reed starts to say, ignoring Sue's warning that he needs to save his strength. He tries to tell her that their attackers' weapons are powerful if they were able to cut through his skin, that they must be made of vibranium. Tears fall from Sue's eyes as she lowers him to the floor, asking him to rest. Meanwhile, the hunters continue to stalk their prey. And that was the complete story for issue 1 of Predator Kills the Marvel Universe by Benjamin Percy. Leading up to this story was Wolverine vs. Predator, Black Panther vs. Predator, and Spider-Man vs. Predator. The first 2 we have already covered here on the channel, but somehow missed the Spider-Man one. So, if you enjoyed this story and want us to keep covering it here on the channel, as well as going back and covering the Spider-Man vs. Predator, let us know in the comments below. And like and subscribe for videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.